let me know. I have no problem with that. Okay, so here we go. Day one, we are creating uncopyable content today. And the reason why we are doing this is because a lot of us spend so much time creating content day in and day out, but a lot of the times it's not converting for us or yielding results. We spend, sometimes up to creating 3 reels a day, and it can feel frustrating to not have results from our content. I know because I spent 10 weeks doing this straight, nonstop, losing my ever living mind on my first account and not understanding what I was doing wrong. So, this is why I am teaching this to you guys today. And I feel it is so important in order to understand how to really nail your messaging so that it connects and converts. So, most entrepreneurs do struggle with messaging, but it's not because they're not good at it, but it's because of something else that's happening. And most of the times, we're just being really too vague. If people don't immediately understand what you do when they come across your page or a piece of your content, they are just going to scroll right on by. People want to know what is in it for them. And if they can't understand that from a first glance, then they don't have time to wait and figure it out. So, you really need to be clear inside your messaging from the start of who you are, what you stand for, and how you help people. Because this, in essence, is the very first thing that has to happen before anything else. It is the core essence of your being, your brand, and the transformation you provide for your clients. Another thing that happens often is we end up sounding like everyone else because we just get in that sort of comfort zone of going to the explore page and looking for inspiration, or, we just want to like have content feel effortless and easy. So sometimes we resort to the plug and play captions and formulas. But all of this is just forgettable messaging because no matter how hard you try, if you try to emulate someone else's voice or their story or their words, it's never going to translate because it was never yours to begin with. And I know this because I did this with basically all of my content on my first page. Excuse me. And I'm going to show you guys examples at the end of my old account so that you can see firsthand what that messaging looked like and now how I am creating content today. Another reason why is that we just sometimes forget to make our audience feel something. Magnetic messaging is felt through the screen. It's not something that's just read. It's when your audience stumbles across you and they're like, wow, like I can see myself in her. Like I know exactly what she's talking about. I know how she feels. And that draws them in and it gives them that connection so that they can step inside your world and not only step inside your world, but want to stay there. And a lot of the time we focus on the what instead of the why. And people, they don't buy what you do. Like they buy the transformation. They want to know when they work with you one on one or when they buy your course or product, what is the ultimate outcome that is going to happen from that? How is their life going to be radically changed and different because of you? So your messaging really needs to be so clear, so aligned, and so you that your audience knows you by your words alone. A lot of times I can go onto someone's page and I can see them clearly in their content, face forward, like you're there. But in the same regard, I don't see you if I can go to your content and read your copy and there's no bits and pieces of you there. So sometimes I tell people like, I see you, but I don't really see you. And this is what I'm going to help you guys with today is really infusing your voice, your story, and your unique genius inside your content so that it becomes completely uncopyable. So there's a 3-part formula for uncopyable messaging because irresistible brands, they don't just teach, they lead. They stand for something, they make people think, and they create a feeling of, yes, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been needing and looking for. And this is how you do it. you're going to first define your brand's core message. This is the belief that makes your brand so completely different from everybody else. And I want to challenge you to think outside of the box and push the norms. This is your chance to own your voice and your perspective. You don't want to sound like everyone else. You don't want to please everyone. In fact, you need to be repelling in order to attract your very dreamiest of clients. The second thing is you want to speak directly to your dream clients' thoughts and emotions so that they feel instantly seen. You want to know, what are they thinking when they're sitting down today to work on their business? What are they struggling with? What are their greatest hopes and aspirations and desires? All of those things are the perfect subjects for you to create content on. And then lastly, you're going to develop your signature phrase or language of your brand so that your content becomes recognizable anywhere. And this is what I was talking about in the previous slide, is I should be able to not see your face on your content and read your copy and know it's you without a shadow of a doubt, because you are going to be speaking in a certain way, have certain phrases or catchphrases that you say. Things that come to mind for me, like you guys may, recognize, I say uniquely you a lot because that is my brand to its core, and its essence through and through. Uncopyable content is something else that's mine, or owning your individuality. It's all of these little phrases and terms that people will be able to instantly recognize you by, because this is something you repeat again and again, not just for the sake of repeating it, because this is what you truly stand for. So let's break this down step by step. So defining your brand's core message is what you stand for. So if someone were to come up to you, let's say it was a girlfriend, maybe she knows a little bit about what you're doing, but most people do not understand what we're doing in this space, and that's okay. But she wants to know, what's your business really about? What's your brand all about? In that moment, would you be able to answer clearly and powerfully? Because the problem is most entrepreneurs struggle with this because they talk around and around and around in circles about what they do instead of actually owning their message with clarity and confidence. So, your core message is going to be literally what you stand for and why it matters. So, let me give you guys some examples. If you came across a page and they said, I help entrepreneurs grow their business with content. This is really vague. It's really boring. There's no emotion. Sure, they're saying how they help people, but why does that matter? And why does that set them apart from anybody else who is helping you with your content? So, an example of a more magnetic message would be, you don't need more content. You need content that makes people stop, feel, and buy. This is more bold. It's taking a belief and shifting it. It's telling them what is going to happen with their content and by working with you. And it creates a memorable and lasting impression. So we really need to clarify your core brand message. We need to know, what is the number one belief that your brand is built on. So for me, for example, I could say that success doesn't come from trends, it comes from individuality. This is a common thread and theme that runs through my entire brand and business. It's going to be evident inside my messaging, inside my reels, my carousels, my bio. It's going to be inside my sales pages. It's going to be the way that I speak even in my DMs. It is going to be what is the core message at the heart of everything that I do and stand for. So, also, you need to make it evident about what people are getting wrong about your industry. So, this is where you're going to challenge the norm and set yourself apart from everyone else. So, for example, I could say something like, people think that they need viral content to sell, when in reality, they need content that connects. So this is challenging something that maybe people might think that, I just need to go viral. I just need to get in front of all of these eyes because then I'll grow my account and I'll have a huge following and everybody will be messaging me and life is going to be great. Well, that's not how it works. In fact, what you need to have is proper messaging so that you're drawing in the right people. And then at that point, it doesn't matter the quantity, it's the quality. You want to be attracting your dream clients into your world and not the whole world to you. Because when you are speaking, as you guys know, to everyone, you're actually speaking to no one. Don't be afraid to get specific here, to be bold, to step outside the lines and really challenge the norm, because this is what is going to set you and your core brand message apart from others and be the reason why they choose you versus someone else. So, if your audience walked away with one core belief from your brand, what would that be? Write down some words that are coming to mind, maybe some key phrases, because later today, when I post homework inside the Telegram group, this is going to be one of the things that I want you to actually do and post inside the group. I want you to take your answers, craft a bold one liner statement, and share it with all of us, because we're going to get clarity on this today so that you feel so confident moving forward with your core brand message. And like I said before, I wanted to just reiterate this for those of you that may not have heard at the very beginning. There will be a private Telegram group that I know you all have access to, and that is where you can submit any questions, light bulb moments, any takeaways, content that you want me to look at for feedback. And I will be in and out of there all day for the next couple days, answering those questions and getting back to you, because today and tomorrow I just really want you guys to sit here and soak this in and take it all in. Take notes if you like. And then on Wednesday, we will have the open live question and answer session where we can do that through our Zoom meeting. So your core brand message, when you create it, this is going to be your magnetic messaging anchor so that every post, every offer, and every piece of content should reinforce this idea, and should be so obvious and apparent to your audience. So many people think that they have clear messaging. This happens a lot, but the problem is their content isn't converting because it's too generic. So, I want to take a look at some real examples of how to take vague and forgettable messaging and turn it into something powerful. Most people may describe their business along these lines. So, I help women grow their online business. Okay. It's way too broad. What kind of business are you helping? And how are you helping them? It's not enough just to grow their online business. You need to be specific in who you're speaking to and the transformation you're providing. Or I help women with content strategy. Okay, great. This is so generic. It could be absolutely literally anyone. And why would someone choose you over anyone else if this is all we're giving them? We need to give them some juicy details to latch onto, to want to intrigue them, and they want to know more. So some magnetic and more uncopyable statements could be, I teach women how to create content that is so uniquely them that no one else can copy it. So do you see how I took my brand's mission and turned that into a power statement? This leaves no doubt in your mind how I help you and what is the result of that. Okay. Another one could be, your content should stop the scroll, not blend in. I'll show you how to make your brand stand out effortlessly. Okay. People they can actually visualize this. They'll be like, okay, yes, like I want scrolling through their feed and I want them to stop on mine because it's standing out. But I don't want it to be hard. I don't understand how to do it. She's going to show me how to do this. And not only that, but she's going to show me how to make it easy and effortless. So a third example could be, more content isn't the answer, better messaging is. And I'll teach you how to create posts that connect and convert. Okay, so here again, we're challenging the thought that more content is better, but we're actually saying no, less is more when you have the proper messaging. And I'm going to teach you how to create connection with your audience. And not only that, but we're going to create content that converts. Everybody wants content that converts, right? Like that's why we're here in the first place. We're not here to be influencers. We are here building our businesses and our brands to create income for ourselves and our family. Why this actually works. So, in the examples that I gave you of the more uncopyable messaging, those messages are very specific. So, content that no one can copy in replace of saying content strategy. Everybody has heard strategy this, strategy that. Nobody else wants another strategy, okay? But they do want content that no one else can copy. It's challenging that belief, like I said, that more content isn't the answer. This disrupts the audience's current way of thinking of, we get fed all of these tips and tricks and advice and this and that. And they're saying, wait, like she's really confident in saying that more content is not what I should be doing. So maybe I've been doing this wrong all along. So then that kind of gives them a moment to pause and reflect and say, I need her. So it also makes your audience curious and want to know more. So they want to say, okay, yes, I want to create content that no one else can copy. And I want to do this effortlessly, but how do I actually do this? So this is where you've created your content. You may have a comment for a keyword. And this is where they comment the keyword because now they want to know more about how to do this and how you're going to help them actually get this outcome. This is when your content starts to convert. So you want to be able, this is the next part, to speak to your dream client's exact thoughts. So the most magnetic type of messaging makes people feel like you're literally reading their mind. And a lot of content falls flat, like I said, because it's just so generic and basic. But in order to attract the right people, you need to speak directly to their thoughts, their struggles, and their desires. So I have something that I like to call the inside their head exercise, where you actually are going to write down the exact words your dream client is thinking right now. And oftentimes, we are a version of our own dream client. So this could be something that you are currently struggling with, or maybe you were a month or 2 or 3 ago. But these are going to be the thoughts that are popping in their head every single day, the things that are their roadblocks that they can't seem to get past. And they're like, if only I could just, figure this out, then I could move past this, then I could grow, then I could expand, then I could, you know, make sales. Like this is what they think about day in and day out. So some examples may be, why isn't my content converting? I feel like I sound like everybody else. And I wish content creating felt so much easier because it's so hard. And honestly, it's my least favorite thing to do. I know we've all been there and said that because let's face it, content creation can be difficult, but I'm going to really show you guys that you're going to be able to look at content creation in such a unique and different perspective that it's going to actually make it fun and exciting to create. So imagine that your dream client is scrolling on Instagram right now. What would be running through their head? So let's say your audience struggles with content engagement. Here's how most people would create content versus how you should actually be doing it. So we have a vague post saying, struggling with engagement? Here are 3 tips to help you. Okay, again, there's no emotion, no real connection. And why are your 3 tips any different than the last 3 tips that I heard yesterday? Like, how is this going to help me? There's no clear answer to that. A way that you can speak directly to them could be saying, You spent an hour creating a post and got only 2 likes. Let's fix that right now. Okay, so this shows urgency. This shows that you're understanding them, that you've been in their shoes, you know how it feels, but that you know how to break through on the other side. You're posting 3 times a day, every single day, but no one is engaging. Your DMs are crickets. Here's why. You're like, okay, yeah, that's me. I wonder why. Why does she think that this is happening? So we're sparking that intrigue and that curiosity. Another example could be it's not the algorithm, it's your messaging, but let's make your content uncopyable. We all know that we like to blame the algorithm for all the things, but sometimes, yes, it is its fault, but most of the times it's something that we can actually really refine and fix. And for us today, it's our messaging. And this is why this works. So it acts as a mirror for your clients. So you are mirroring their exact frustrations and their current feelings. I spent an hour on a post for 2 likes. Oh my gosh, this is so painfully relatable. It makes them feel seen and that you understand them. It's so important to use your transformation, your experiences as testimony to what you do and why it works. A lot of people think that we have to just have numbers on a screen, screenshots of income, all of those things in order to make someone see us as an authority. But that's really not true. Your audience just more than anything wants to feel seen and understood. And when you can show that you've walked the walk and you're not just talking the talk, this is going to build instant connection and trust that is unbreakable with your audience. And also, it works because it's challenging that limiting belief. So they want to just, take the easy way and say, oh, it's just the algorithm, like it'll be better tomorrow. But it's not. It's happening over and over and over again. And we need to get to the root of what's actually going on. And that's your messaging. So this is creating curiosity and they want to know more of, well, why is this happening? Like what am I doing wrong with my messaging and how can I fix it? This positions you as the solution to their problem. This is where we are going to actually create a belief bridge for your audience so that you are shifting your audience's mindset in a very single post. So, your content's goal is to make people think differently about something that they may have believed before. And this is called the belief shift. And it's one of the most powerful ways, as I said, to build trust and authority. So, a way that you can create a belief shift, let's give a basic example first. So, you may sit down and write content strategy is important for growing your brand. Okay, yes, it is, but this is feels kind of obvious. Nothing new here. Okay. But when you take it and use it with a more belief shifting approach, you can say something like, most people think posting content will actually grow their brand. But the truth, more content isn't the answer, but better messaging is. And here's why. Okay, we're being very specific. We're challenging a belief. We're telling them that that's actually not true. This is what is. And here's why. And I'm going to show you exactly how. And why this works is because you're challenging that common belief with your audience. They think they need to have more is better. When in fact, we want to be doing less. We want to be showing up in the best ways possible inside our business so that our business and content is doing the heavy lifting for us. We design these businesses so that our lives and our businesses intertwine seamlessly and upcycle one another. We don't want to have to be spending all day, every day creating content to get zero results. We want to be creating content that is so uncopyable and magnetic and uniquely you that it does the heavy lifting for you. And this is exactly what I was talking about. If you guys have seen some of my recent posts, when we went to Disneyland for spring break, I had a reel of mine that is my core brand story. And it went viral again for a second time. And it was doing the heavy lifting while I literally was offline and not posting. It was bringing in aligned followers who are coming in straight from my content. I had people commenting my keyword. I had conversations in the DM. And this is what happens when you actually create content that is doing the heavy lifting and the work for you. And then you are able to create less because it's doing more. Okay, and this is exactly what I'm going to be teaching you guys. It's so important, and really building out your core brand stories is something else that I love to dive in and dig with you guys. And we can also play around with that as well inside the Telegram group. So another reason why this works is you're creating curiosity. They want to know, well, what do you mean by better messaging? Like, what am I doing wrong? Can you take a look? Like, tell me what I'm doing so I can fix it. Like, they want to immediately know what is the solution. And because they want to know what the solution is, it's positioning you as the expert on this topic because you have a different, more effective approach than the page they looked at yesterday. It is positioning you as the one and only option because you are bringing your unique genius to the table. Your unique genius is your lived experiences and your expertise that no one else has and can replicate because it's been built for years and years and years. And this is why the offers that you provide or the way in which you teach others is something that your audience cannot find anywhere else because it is truly unique to you. So we're going to also talk about the call out effect. So this is how you take your messaging and instantly grab that attention when people are scrolling by. So I know we all just flick, 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 and we go through and we scroll and scroll. But have you ever taken the time to actually sit and think about what makes you stop, even just for a second, to consider what that person may have to say? Most people's content is getting ignored because it really is just too general. Like I can scroll and say like, okay, like, yep, seen that, seen that, seen that. Like, yep, I've heard that. Oh, wait, like this is different. What's making me stop and give that person my time and consideration? So, the fastest way to stand out is you're going to literally call out your dream client directly, calling them out. So, this is an example of a generic call out. 3 ways to improve your content. Again, too vague. It doesn't feel personal at all. And it's like, I've seen this a gazillion times. Like, I don't have time for this, right? But if you said something like this, you could do point of view. If you're a coach who's posting content every single day, but still struggling to get engagement, this is why. Okay. Little different, more detailed. You can see yourself inside that message because it's working because you're directly calling out who this post was created for. You're targeting coaches. Maybe you're targeting content creators, entrepreneurs, etc. You're not talking to an influencer. You're not talking, you're talking very directly to someone in particular. Okay. And it's speaking to their exact struggle or pain point. So posting every single day, but not getting engagement. Okay. Because sometimes some people could be posting and getting some engagement. You could say you're posting every day, but your engagement is hit or miss. Or you were posting every single day and your engagement was amazing for a week and now it's crickets. Like the more specific you get in the details and in that scenario so that you can paint this picture, paint this scene, and they can see themselves inside of it, the better that your content is going to connect. You want it to feel really personal. as if you're speaking to one person, not a crowd. And I cannot say this enough. This is something that I will stand on a soapbox, die on a hill saying, because I believe this to my core, and it is everything my brand stands for. You cannot speak to everyone. I have, you know, talked to so many women who want to just help everyone. And while I understand that, we all have big hearts and big dreams and passions and desires. You can't truly help the ones that you really are meant to serve if you're trying to help everyone, because your voice is going to get lost and no one is going to be able to find you. And we don't want that. We want your dream clients to be able to find you quickly and recognize you and acknowledge you for what you do and be the no-brainer solution for them. That it takes no thought. They know instantly that they need to be and step inside your world. So you need to be very specific about who you're talking to. And like I said, the more specific you are, the better, because you actually want to repel in order to attract. And I know that's hard because you want to take into consideration other people. But we aren't building these businesses to worry if we're hurting other people's feelings or leaving people out. We are trying to do the best that we can to really single out, find our dream audience and draw them in so that we can bless our business by blessing other people's lives. We are here to serve and help those that we know we're truly meant to. And we need to, in order to find them and connect with them first, by having such a narrowed, specific, and detailed message of who that dream client is. So we talked a little bit earlier about signature phrases. This is the last part of creating content that is uncopyable for today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk more about the storytelling aspect of it. But your signature phrases that make your brand instantly recognizable are going to be the things that you just become known for. So I want you to think about brands or influencers that you may follow. And I guarantee you will notice that they have signature phrases that make their content immediately recognizable. So the most uncopyable brands use these words and phrases that are distinctly theirs and no one else's. So that if you saw someone else trying to claim this or trying to say this, you would be like, that's weird. Why are they copying her? Like that's what Sarah says. That's not what Mary says. It's very obvious that it's yours and yours alone. So, some examples of signature phrases, we have Jenna Kutcher, who always says, done is better than perfect. And we know her for that and appreciate her for that. Or Gary Vee, who says, document, don't create. Mine could be, your content is so uniquely you that no one else can copy it. Okay, so these are the things that, as I said, when you come across someone's content, their copy, you know it's them before you've even seen their face on screen. So take a minute and write down some things that you say often and that you stand for or believe. And this is how you can do it as you're taking notes. The way you're going to create your own signature phrases is you want to look at what you say naturally. Okay, this is not something we're forcing. This is not something we're just pulling out of thin air. Okay, this is something that you just naturally say often in conversations or coaching. So, like, what are you repeating over and over again? Because you know why you're repeating it is because you're passionate about it and you believe in it wholeheartedly. So, if you're always saying your content should feel effortless, make that a signature line. You're not saying content should be easy. That's a little more basic. You should say content should feel effortless, or content should feel effortless and fun. You want to identify your strongest beliefs. Again, what do you stand for? What do you say that contradicts the norm? So, if you were to teach storytelling, for example, your phrase could be, your story isn't just content, it's currency. That right there paints a very vivid picture of, wow, like I can take my story and create it into this content that actually builds an income for me. So there's a connection here. It's painting a very vivid picture. You want to keep it short and impactful. You don't want to get too wordy or lengthy because you want it to be something that people can remember very easily and repeat. So instead of maybe saying ideal client, you might say dream audience or soulmate clients, things like that, that it's just like a slightly different twist on a normal phrase, just that unique spin that makes it your own, that's in your own tone, your own voice, and in your own thought process. So the most unforgettable brands do have these words and phrases and messaging that instantly connects their audience to them. They're words that they use over and over until they eventually just become part of their brand identity. And most of the time, you're not going to even realize that you're doing it. Honestly, it's not something that I thought overthought when I owned the phrase uniquely you. It's just something that came to mind that embodied my work and my values and how I teach others. And it has become one of my signature phrases, and it will always be. So let's break this down into like a signature belief statement, go to phrases, and words that feel like you. So, a signature belief statement, we're going to use my brand for an example. The real way to build a brand is by owning your individuality. And I always say that individuality equals impact. Okay. So, this is something that I believe. And I am going to do a great job in my content of not trying to, but of convincing my audience of the same. I want them to know that their individuality is their superpower, and it is the way that they are going to create impact and income in this space. A go-to phrase are like the little shorter phrases that I'm going to repeat often through my copy, in my sales pages, even in my maybe sometimes in my bio, um, in DM conversations. Those are things like uncopyable content and uniquely you, or your brand should speak for itself. Your brand is your voice. Okay. And then it's also important just to have words that feel like you. Like, what is the sense of feeling when someone comes across your page? How would they describe you in a matter of words? So for me, you might say, I'm colorful, empowering, optimistic, warm, happy. What are the tone? What's the underlying tone of your brand and your messaging? And the more that you repeat these and infuse them through your page and your content, the more recognizable your brand is going to become. This is one of my most favorite things of how to take everything that you've done. When you take all of these things into consideration today that we've talked about, and you want to sit down and you're like, okay, I'm going to create a piece of content today. It's going to be uncopyable. It's going to be uniquely me. It's going to be amazing. You have to run it through the only you test. Okay. This is what is going to make your messaging truly uncopyable. And this is what the sort of the filter system that you guys are going to use when you leave this training today and sit down to create your first piece of uncopyable content. So most content sounds the same because we are just accustomed to using industry buzzwords. You guys know there's a lot of them and some of them that make you absolutely like cringe. And you're like, oh, if I hear that one more time. Um, and we do this because it's easy. Like we see other people doing it. So we think, oh, must be popular. But the problem is when we're trying to do what everyone else is doing, you're not injecting your own voice and your perspective. So it's leaving everything to fall super flat. So it's time to run your content through the only you test. And this is how we do it. The first thing I want you to consider is, would your audience recognize this post as your own? Let's take the visuals off the table. Let's have just the words, the text on screen, the hook, the caption. Can they tell it's yours? Or could this literally be anybody? The second thing is, does it have your personality? your voice or your unique phrasing that we talked about. If I'm reading, again, taking visuals off the table, the text on screen, your copy, would I recognize it as you? And if so, why would I recognize it as you? Would I see like a little key phrase in there and go, oh my gosh, that's always what Sarah says? That's hers. I can tell immediately. Or would you be like, yeah, this is generic. Okay. Not really seeing any details. This doesn't tell me anything about them. Honestly, this could be anybody. Okay, the third thing is, does it reflect that belief or perspective that you stand for to the core of your being? Is there any perspective in this content? Or are you just telling me the facts? Are you just stating as it is? Is it just another piece of content in the sea of sameness? And lastly, and most importantly, if someone could take this and copy it word for word, literally drag, click, copy, paste, call it their own, and have it make complete sense, if they can, then we have to start over. This is absolutely what you do not want to happen with your content. And in fact, yes, anybody could take your content, even if it's truly uncopyable. There's nothing stopping from someone copying and pasting yours and calling it their own. In fact, people are going to do that. It's going to be the moment that you have this like, oh my gosh, like somebody copied my work and you feel flattered, but at the same time, you're frustrated. It's going to happen. And that's how you'll know that you're doing an amazing job. I actually had this happen with me when I first started experimenting with threads. I posted a thread that did really well. It was very specific. It was very unique to my story, my experiences. It had my tone, very detailed. I had someone literally come and copy and paste it word for word. I think she maybe changed like the time frame. So maybe instead of saying 2 months, it said 3 months, and called her own. And that was a wild ride because I had worked so hard after my first account to not emulate what others were doing and not try to be a copy paste version of someone else because that's what I thought was successful. But then I realized in that moment that this woman was doing this because she was where I had been. She thought that's what would help her. That's would make her, account grow or connect with her audience. It was really crazy because the results were polar opposites. Um, I had really great response to mine and she had crickets. And in fact, the only comment that she had was someone who wasn't very nice coming and leaving some rude comments, not about the fact that she copied it because they didn't obviously know that or realize that, but it drew negativity to her and her content unknowingly. And that was just the result of trying to emulate someone else's voice and perspective. So, honestly, when you try to take someone else's, words word for word, or someone tries to do it to you, it is never, ever, ever going to translate. It is never going to yield a positive result. And it's actually just going to pull you farther back instead of moving forward and really progressing. So, the word for word only you test is so important when running our content through this filter before we really take the time to hit post. So if someone did copy and paste your content, let's say they do it without your name on it, would you have someone come to you and be like, oh my gosh, Jamie, I was just scrolling through my feed and I saw this lady post this and I know it's you, but she's claiming it as hers. Like, would your messaging be so specific and so uniquely you that someone would know that it's not on the right page, that the face that is behind that content is not matching the words on screen because they're actually not their own? So if the answer is no, then this means your content is blending in, and blending in is the fastest way to be overlooked. So the problem is that, again, we're using too many trending words that are sounding just like everyone else. We're relying on those generic and hooks and captions because they're easy and that just gets content done for the day. But What if you weren't stressing about creating 3 pieces of content? What if you were just focused on creating one really amazing piece? They're not injecting enough personality, unique phrasing, or perspective into the messaging, and it just leaves it falling flat and looking and sounding like everyone else. The brands that are going to attract the dream clients effortlessly, their content is so absolutely recognizable, so distinct, and so them that if someone else tried to copy it, it just literally wouldn't even make sense. It would be silly. Okay. And I know you guys can think of big accounts that you follow or ones that, even if they're not big accounts, that you admire, and you would know exactly what this means. And this is what I want you to really own for yourself and embody when you're creating your content. So here is how you're going to go off today and make your content 100% uncopyable. So we are going to develop your signature writing and speaking style. So your brand should have this very distinct way of communicating, whether that's through tone, phrase, humor, or just the way maybe you structure your content. You have a certain way of outlining your captions. Maybe you use certain emojis all the time. That's another fun way to really infuse yourself inside your brand is using emojis. Like, you guys know, I always use stars and yellow hearts. Like, that's just me. It's a fun, simple way that also makes your content uniquely you. Um, your brand is going to have this unique writing style when you structure your content. Um, for example, your sentence structure may be like short, punchy lines, or maybe you're in the more long, detailed, lengthy storytelling, or maybe you like to drop it out in bullet points. However, you effectively communicate, and this is not something you just do one way for one post and then you're going to do something different on another post. You're going to have the same type of writing style and sentence structure every single time you post. And this, again, is what helps to make your content become instantly recognizable as you. So, for your tone, are you direct and bold? Are you warm or nurturing? Are you playful or sassy? Like, who are you to the core in every day? Let's take being a business owner off the table. Let's take being offline or online off the table. Who are you in the day to day when you're interacting with your friends, your family at home? That is who you need to bring inside your content. And your energy, does your energy like feel high energy, or are you more like reflective or motivational? These aren't things that you're making up. You're not pretending to be someone that you're not just to appease your audience. Your energy is literally what is going to draw everybody into you and magnetize to you. This is something that comes naturally and is something that you shouldn't be afraid to own and really just exude through your content, because your energy is what is going to pull people in time and time again. So I want you to think of like how you naturally talk in real life. This is exactly what should be reflected inside your content. You want to feel as though like you're talking to your best client, or you're talking to your best friend, or how are you naturally speaking? What are your iterations or your tone? Or, you know, if you pause and say, or maybe, like, include those. That's part of you, and that's what makes your content different. So this is what I want you guys to think about when you walk away today. You have your Only You test final checklist. Again, this is going to be posted in Telegram. I'll have this whole live recording there for you guys to go back and refer to. But before you post anything, I want you to run it through this 5-question test to ensure it's impossible for someone else to copy. And if they are copying it, like I said, don't worry, it's not going to translate. That's not your problem. Um, so first of all, does this sound like me? Or could it literally be anyone? Does this reflect a bold belief or unique perspective that I hold? Could my audience recognize this as mine even without my name on it or without seeing my face? Does this create a feeling, not just deliver basic information? And if someone else copied this, would it still make sense? Would it still sound like it was coming from them? If you answered yes to all 5 of these, then congratulations, your content would be uncopyable, and this is the absolute goal. So, you guys, I'm going to show you some quick examples. I know I've gone over on time, but I knew this would happen because I am a talker. I love to over deliver. And we had a few hiccups at the beginning, which I'm so grateful for you being patient with me. And I'm just so happy that you're here and for you to really take this and run with it today. Just remember, the copyable content is going to get scrolled past. The uncopyable content is what is going to get saved, shared, and remembered by your audience. And the moment that you truly own your voice and your perspective and your message, your brand becomes completely impossible to ignore. So, I want you guys to head over to the private Telegram group afterwards, anytime today, and I'm going to upload a homework assignment that is going to help you implement everything that you learned today. And there are going to be specific questions and tasks that I do want you to do. You guys all invested in being here in this space, in this room today. So why not take the time to implement what you've learned and actually put it to work? That is the best thing that we can do, is by taking action. Even if it's messy, even if it's not perfect, I am here to help you, guide you through this. I'm going to look at your answers and what you've submitted, give you my feedback, and we are going to have some amazing creations by the end of today. I know it. So I wanted to show you really quickly before we leave just a few examples in real time from my old account, which is going to be fun because I have actually never done this before. You guys have seen snips and pieces in my content, but let me just pull up my other screen here. Okay, this is my old page. Can you guys see this? Okay, so one thing I came across today, and I was laughing to myself because I was like, what was I even thinking? Is this post right here? I was trying to be somewhat specific, but the funny thing is, I talk about getting in my car and getting a Starbucks on the way to pick up my kids and sipping on a latte. I don't like coffee. I've never drank coffee in my life. I have no desire to get a latte at Starbucks. Why did I do this? I didn't even remember that I did this, but it was me trying to emulate someone else. Like, I saw a mom create a reel about talking about how she hopped in her car, got her latte, went to pick her kids up from school. And I thought, okay, yeah, I think a lot of people could relate with that. So I'm going to run with that. That did not translate at all because that is not me. Yes, you can see me physically, but you're not seeing me in my content because this is not who I am. This is not who I stand. This is not what I stand for. This is not me at all. And then if you look at my caption is very generic. I talk about things that I wish we had, things that I'm looking forward to, having money that's scarce, finding a solution in digital marketing. It's very generic. Anyone could have taken this. There's no real story here. Then this one is fun. Pumping yourself up to post another reel because learning new skills and building a business and launching all while trying to do your best is hard. Okay. Yes, but what does that have to do with anything? No one knows from that hook who I am, let alone what I stand for, or most importantly, how do I help other people? I'm just telling you that I'm doing this. Hey, it's hard. You can click on the caption, which most people probably wouldn't have clicked at on the caption by this point because there's nothing from that hook that's drawing them in, nothing that's uniquely me. And then when you get to my caption, it's very basic. Again, anybody could come, copy and paste this, call it their own. I'm not giving any insight, any value. There's no bits and parts of me in here. It's just all surface level. You can see my page is just full of lots of attempts of me trying so hard, but not understanding at all what I was doing with my messaging. Here's one. I don't know who needs to hear this, but making money from Reels is not as hard as you think. And you don't need to be an influencer or have loads of followers. I can show you how. Okay, why would someone say, "Oh yeah, like let me click on it. How's she going to help me?" You're not telling me anything I don't already probably know. Maybe I don't know that. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. But there's nothing there there's no connection points. There's no other than my visuals, there's no reason for someone to see themselves inside my content. It's just another one of those reels on a feed that gets scrolled by because it's saying the same generic thing with no connection behind it. There's no me there. There's no reason that someone would say, "Yeah, let me see what she has to say," or "Let me hit that follow button," or "She could be a solution for me." No, there's no reason for anybody to think that from this piece of content. So, as you guys see, I can show you one of my best performing ones from this page, and you can see how I was slowly starting to understand. And this was right almost before I stopped this page, kind of what it might mean to infuse me inside my content. This one was actually, I took from an experience that was real life, and it was my son and I going to the mother and son dance at his school. And I wanted to really live inside that moment and I wanted to embrace it. But I didn't really know how to create that into content and create a connection point for my audience. So this is actually a perfect example to transition into what we're going to be what I'm going to be teaching you tomorrow, because it's taking everyday moments like this and turning it into content gold. So here I said, you were able to buy the cute new outfit, sparkly accessories, and gorgeous high heels. Rent a party bus for your son and his friends. Go out to dinner and order whatever you like. Then spend the entire afternoon with your son at the mother-son dance at his school and soak up every single moment. Okay, yes, all of that is true. It's very lengthy. It's too many words. Um, and it is uniquely me. But the problem with this is that, yes, my audience could envision this, but in their current situation, in their current moment of building a business, what does this have to do with anything other than just like a moment maybe you can relate to as a mom? So my dream client is not just a mom. My dream client is an entrepreneur who wants to create a business and a brand that is uniquely them, that is wildly successful because it's rooted in their voice, their story, and their unique genius. You can't tell that from this hook. You can't tell who I help and why and how I serve them. You can just see a glimpse of me here, visually and in my story, but it's not enough to do the heavy lifting. And then if you go to my caption, there is more here of a personal story. And I do try to tie that into my business. And, it was a good attempt. I think this one was one of my best performing on my page. It had like 6,000 some views. But if you go to the comments, there's nothing here. There's not very many likes. And not that those are important, those are vanity metrics, but this piece of content is not doing what I intend for it to do. It is not creating any sort of connection with my audience. It's not positioning me as a solution. It is not explaining who I am and how I help others. It's just simply another piece of content on my feed. Okay. And I'm going to show you guys my as a last example, just to kind of counteract that with my reel on my current page that is my core brand story. You guys may be familiar with it. It's my chameleon story, and why this one does so well and why it works. And it does the heavy lifting for me. This is the reel. I've actually created it twice now, and both times it has gone viral and viral twice. So I have two separate ones of this on my account, and they each have just as high as engagement and views and keywords commented. And let me show you why this works. 6 months ago, I took a high level personality profile test as part of a women's entrepreneurial retreat. Okay, that's the first part. When the results came in, they were absolutely not what I was expecting and left me sobbing uncontrollably. My life has never been the same since. Okay, so the reason why this piece of content works so well, and actually the audio that you guys cannot hear is really great with this one. And it's not all about audio, but the audio suits this story and the tone and my emotions well. Is that it's telling a story and it's breaking it up into snippets and in parts. So it's not just giving the whole long text on the screen like I did on my old account, how I just showed you, where it becomes visually overwhelming. It's too much for people to read and process, and they just like get partway through and they're like, I'm done. This is giving little snippets and leaving you want to know more. Okay, you're like, wow, she went on a retreat. She did a profile test. What was that all about? And why is she so upset about it? Like, I didn't sit in my car and fake cry to make this video. This was actually me, like, realizing in that moment and being on that retreat, like, how my life was unfolding and changing, like, in the most incredible ways. And I couldn't understand what was happening, but I just knew that this moment was life-changing for me. And so I paired it with the story because they actually go together and they work. And that also is what amplifies this and makes it more powerful, and is what creates that intrigue, and it wants people, to stop and pause and stop the scroll. So in my caption, I give the full detailed story. I talk about how I went across the country 6 months ago for an intensive entrepreneurial retreat. I talk about the way it made me feel and how it changed everything. I told about the results and the fact that the facilitator of the test told me that my results were so unusual that I must be a mistake, and that how that made me feel and how it made me question everything. And then I realized that actually there was no mistake here being made, that my profile coming back as a chameleon, even though it's a rarity and an anomaly, that means like I am so uniquely me. And it is everything that I embody as a brand and as a person and as a solution for my audience. And that's why the story works so well, because it explains, no, like I know exactly who I am. I'm the one who gets dressed up for no reason, and I love vibrant colors. I am obsessed with Halloween, and I wear hats all of the time. Like, these quirks, they're not my mistakes, they're me. And the things that we dismiss as insignificant are actually our greatest superpowers. This whole caption here is not only telling a story, it's bringing you along a transformation, and it's allowing people to see themselves inside your shoes. And I go on to say, how this has helped me to form a brand that has become unmistakable. And then I go on to tell people, if you want to do the same, then this is how I'm going to help you do exactly that. And that's why this content not only creates massive connection, but it converts to followers, it converts in keywords being commented, in dream clients finding me, and we having conversations in the DM, and then later working with me. This is all working because this piece of content is completely uncopyable and uniquely me. And this is exactly right here what I'm going to be teaching you how to do tomorrow, taking your everyday moments and using them as content inspiration and creating content that is truly uncopyable. So I am so excited to be able to come back tomorrow, spend the day with you guys, and teach you this exact concept. Thank you so very much for being here with me today. It's meant the world to me. Please take the time to go in the Telegram group. I want to hear your thoughts, your feedbacks. I'm happy to answer questions, and please take the time to do the homework. It is so very important for you to implement what you have learned here today. So thank you so much for your time. I will see you guys tomorrow at the same time, same place, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.